Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sands. Up next in Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by The Wellness Way. Today we're joined by contributor, podcaster, and host Anna Devere. Today, she's joined by veteran holistic physician Dr. Bradley Nelson, one of the world's foremost experts on natural methods of achieving wellness. He's an international trainer, speaker, the author of best-selling books, The Emotion Code and The Body Code, Unlocking Your Body's Ability to Heal Itself. He's also the founder and CEO of Discover Healing, a holistic education platform that provides training and certifies practitioners worldwide. They're going to join me today to chat all about holistic healing, the power of energy, and his emotion code method. Welcoming now to the show are my dear friends, Dr. Bradley Nelson and Anna Devere. Welcome, superstars.
Hey.
Thanks for having me on. Great to be here.
Great to have you. Okay, let's jump right in. So, Dr. Nelson, taking a look back to my understanding as a child, you suffered two life-threatening illnesses, and while they were healed, it was not done with traditional Western medicine, but rather by separating alternative methods that tapped into the power of energy. Quite fascinating stuff. And it was these experiences that are really at the root of your journey and ultimately shaped your life moving forward. Now, you're the creator of the Emotion Code and the Body Code and have spoken and written extensively on these topics. For our audience members who are unfamiliar with the Emotion Code and the Body Code, how does your modality work?
Well, essentially, if you think about the emotional experiences that you have had in your life, we've all hit emotional highs, we've hit emotional lows, and it's the emotional lows that tend to create long lasting effects for us. And what we now are understanding is that those times when you used to cry yourself to sleep as a child, or listening to your parents argue, or having someone in your life that passes away, or relationships that break up, or your parents divorce, or your own divorces, things like that, all that emotional energy that you have experienced in your life can be still with you in the form of what you might call emotional baggage. It literally is the energy of those emotions that becomes trapped in the body. Quantum physicists understand this because the body is an energy field. We're made of pure energy. If you look at your hand, it looks solid, but if you zoom in on your hand with a big enough microscope, you see it's just made of energy. Ultimately, you're looking at an atom. It's just made of energy. So when you develop a trapped emotion, what's happening is you've gone through some emotional experience that's been a little bit too much for you to take, or you've decided not to feel that emotion. You've decided to stuff that emotion. And so it hasn't expressed. And so what happens is these emotional energies can result in physical pain later on in life. They're an underlying cause of things like depression and anxiety and phobias and panic attacks and PTSD and eating disorders. They're also an underlying cause of every disease process that we've seen now in 35 years of doing this around the world. So it's something that people need to know about.
It's all interconnected, and it's interesting because you've created this incredible roadmap for those seeking a path to healing, and you're definitely set to continue changing lives. In fact, according to a survey by the National Institute of Health, nearly 1 out of 3 people in the US are seeking holistic healthcare solutions. So you definitely have an audience of people eager to learn from you. Now, Anna, I know you have some experience with this modality. I'd love to hear your story and how it factored into your life.
Well, I was introduced to the emotion code a long time ago, about a decade ago, and it was in relation to adopting a child. And someone said to me, the history of that child's unknown. You might want to check this out. And I kept that in the back of my mind, because when you adopt a baby, you don't really see that. So flash forward, my niece was having a really difficult time and developed symptoms over the course of a year and a half that were debilitating. I will tell you, her parents and family members were traditional doctors, and we were looking at this for her uh, to a very frustrating degree, because everyone's trying to problem solve this poor girl. And she became skeletal in weight, couldn't leave her home, couldn't attend college. And I finally, because everyone's a doctor, I don't want to weigh in on this everybody's got a strong opinion.
Right.
And of course it's emotional because it's a child. But I suggested to her mom, I think you should take a look at the emotion code. And very quickly that worked for her. Today, the woman has, is married, has a child, and we really thought we were going to lose her. So to me, that was the biggest testimony of what the power of the emotion code actually was.
That's fascinating. Dr. Nelson, this must warm your heart. And
It
now,
does.
now you've been talking about the emotion code as a powerful yet simple way to rid yourself of this unseen emotional baggage that we've been talking about. And your method really does give individuals the tools to identify and release these trapped emotions and open the heart and body to the positive energies of the world, so to speak. Because to your point, as you just eloquently put, we all know that trapped emotions left untouched will fester in our life psychologically and linger on to further create physical problems. Now, focusing on the mental aspect of this, we know that there are millions of people in the US affected by mental illness each year. And the CDC has reported 1 in 5 US adults live with a mental illness. 50% of all lifetime mental illnesses also begin by the age of 14. So clearly, people are in need. How does the emotion code complement traditional mental health therapies, and where does it diverge?
Well, the interesting thing about it is that with the emotion code, what we're doing is we're actually using the subconscious mind, which has all the information about what's going on with a person and what emotional baggage they have. And what we're teaching people is how to communicate with that internal computer that has all the answers. And so we're able to find the energies of those emotions that are trapped in the body. So the emotion code is completely different from any other kind of cognitive therapy or really any other kind of mental therapy, because what we're doing is we're treating the body as an energy field and finding these emotional energies that are invisible, that are trapped in the body. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, gee, I thought I dealt with all that. I went to therapy for that. I can't believe that's still showing up. Well, emotional energies are not released by traditional therapies. So you may have a trapped emotion of anger or resentment or frustration or grief in your body that is affecting you physically, mentally, emotionally. And you can go to traditional therapies, but it's not going to release that energy. The emotion code is how we can find and release that energy. And then that alone can make an enormous change. Not to say that cognitive type therapies aren't also definitely beneficial, but sometimes just releasing that emotional baggage is the biggest piece of the puzzle that's often missed.
So, Anna, I'm going to pivot here because I want to go back to your niece, but you witnessed this firsthand. So, in your opinion, how do you weigh in on the reasons for the success of this treatment versus other treatments?
Well, because I saw such bright minds trying to solve it and so many different modalities thrown from Eastern to Western, I think I want to just say and dovetail what Dr. Nelson says. It comes down to conscious versus subconscious. And some of the most powerful tools in traditional therapy can be cognitive behavioral therapy because it allows the person to weigh in. But what Dr. Nelson is saying is that you can get to the invisible root cause. And I know for my niece, it was painful for her to think the tool was in her hand, but once it clicked, I mean, we're tapping the subconscious versus the conscious brain because there's wisdom in that subconsciousness that allows her to be part of the process, if that makes sense. And that to me is the key to any modality. Shifting a patient is when they are really a part of the equation. There's really their wisdom in their body that's inherently part of the solution. That's why I think it worked.
Well, Dr. Nelson, you've turned Anna Devere into a believer.
Yeah, for sure.
She could be on your PR team. Now, doctor, you just as any other wellness or healthcare field, there are always skeptics, right? So looking back at your journey, what's the most common skepticism you've encountered about your work, and how do you address it?
Well, the most common skepticism really has been that it can't possibly be this simple. It can't possibly be this easy. It's got to be more complicated because we're used to things being complicated. But the reality of it is, Albert Einstein many, many years ago said the medicine of the future will be the medicine of frequencies. No one had any idea what he was talking about at the time. But now here we are in 2024, and we're finally beginning to realize, oh, the medicine of frequencies looks like this. Treating the body as an energy field it's completely different from Western medicine, from pharmaceutical medicine. No surgery involved, but these bodies are pure energy. That's what we are, and we're finally waking up to that. And when you actually address the body as an energy field, which is essentially what we're doing with the emotion code, and when we're talking to the internal computer the subconscious mind within each one of us, that is essentially a binary computer. It's easy to get answers. The subconscious mind is very willing to give those answers. And that's what we teach people how to do with the emotion code. So you can do it yourself. You can find your own emotional baggage. Other people can help you. We have certified 13,000 practitioners around the world. And so, yeah, it actually is really easy. But that is the biggest skepticism that people have. But once they try it and they realize, oh my gosh, dad's back pain's gone, or my sister finally got pregnant and had a baby when she tried in vitro for 10 years. That's
Right.
the kind of thing that happens.
Well, it's clear these skeptics have something to learn because your book received worldwide acclaim and best-selling success, and it's filled with countless real-life examples of self-healing with your method from your many years of clinical practice into Anna's very powerful testimonial with her niece. Seeing is believing. Now, Anna, how has working with the emotion code changed your perspective on energy healing?
So I kind of wanted to dive in on the scientific side. I actually went to school for massage and body work. I loved learning about anatomy, and the mind body connection, of course, is always talked about. But I really credit the emotion code and books like the emotion code for kind of pushing me into a lifelong learning situation. And then in my own experience, as the world has caught up to Dr. Nelson's theories, and there's platforms like Gaia TV that talk about every kind of modality. It's like the world's finally caught up, so that Dr. Nelson's not in the weeds proving that the energy even matters, and the field of quantum physics proves that out as well. But I'm just excited now that he can push the frontier even further, because seeing is believing, and having put my hand on a lot of bodies, it's really amazing to me that now people are widely accepting energy medicine. I know it from my experience, and not just from my niece's treatment.
Things always come full circle, don't they?
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Nelson, for those out there listening who are interested in starting the self-healing journey, what are the most important first steps?
Well, getting a copy of the emotion code for yourself is a great way to go. It's available on Audible, so if you like to listen, you can listen to it. It's available anywhere books are sold. It's an easy book. It's not difficult, even though we're talking about principles of quantum physics and things like that. We're talking to it on about a fourth grade level, and so anybody can read this book and understand it. In fact, kids can read this book and are reading the book and are having success working with their friends and family members and so on. So that's a very exciting thing. By the way, this also works on animals. We now know that animals develop emotional baggage, and the biggest cause of their behavioral and physical issues, also, just like for human beings, seems to be emotional baggage. And so you can learn how to work on your animals too. And there's no placebo effect there. So having it work with animals is a great proof that it's real.
Caesar Million, here we come. The dog whisperer is coming to compete with you. So what don't you do, Dr. Nelson? Now, before we wrap up, Anna, any discover your potential takeaways?
I would just like to say, I'm a big advocate for people discovering their potential. And what I'm so proud to highlight Dr. Nelson today is that his approach is the same. You can literally buy a book and change your life. I don't say that very often. So please understand, we want you to not just reach the point where you're treating symptoms in your life. Take a look at your life. What do you want more of? See what's out there for you. And in order to discover your true potential, get past some of these emotional blocks, I guarantee you'll find an interesting and fascinating journey if you follow the emotion code in your life.
Very well said. You just found your co-author, Dr. Nelson.
I'm so
Well,
excited. Thank you.
thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. That was our Discover Your Potential segment brought to you by The Wellness Way. That was the incredible veteran holistic physician, Dr. Bradley Nelson. Definitely be sure to visit Discover Healing, his holistic education platform at discoverhealing.com, and check him out at drbradleynelson.com, or you can check him out on the gram at official Bradley Nelson. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. To see more of Anna Devere, head to discoveryourpotentialshow.com. We'll be right back after